It's not with exchanges. Like honestly, their problem is just with virtual currencies. Um, so there are some avenues they're giving you. Like if you've seen the recent Supreme Court submission that they made, they're giving you some avenues for forex. There's an LRS exception.
Yes.
In the FEMA Act of India, where you can take some foreign exchange out, and they want to allow Indians to invest by taking foreign exchange out and invest in other countries, right? So that's jump on that and like leverage that and create, you can create a bridge or you can create an application around that. The second thing that I think another opportunity for engagement is, they said clearly that the KYC standards that the exchanges are taking up are not up to the mark of regular RBI KYC, right? So that's a very good area to open dialogue, because what's happening in other countries is exchanges are mostly organizing into these self-regulatory organizations, which the RBI, doesn't see the value in that in India, but it is giving you some areas where they're clearly struggling to put in place regulation, and I think those are the right areas to open dialogue with.
Yeah, but I think most of the exchanges, and even of course, a company which is registered outside, they are KYC compliant in many ways. You're self-regulated in some form or the other. But I think probably we'll take a leaf out of our, comment here and understand. We're running short of time. I think I've taken too much time here. We have 5 minutes, but I think what we'll ask is two questions which I really had was, of course, the RBI versus crypto debate happening in the Supreme Court, but it's sub judice. I want that to ask to Jaideep. We'll ask that, but my question would be, let's assume, all right, and this is for the businesses as well as the policy maker here, in case, all right, there is no regulation for the next 5 years, what should be our strategy as businesses, as communities, all right? What should we do?
Yeah, so I will say from the government's perspective, I don't think they have that option to not do anything for 5 years, because right now, like the FATF guidelines, for example, are out, right? And India can go beyond that and ban, but the current stance is not compliant FATF-wise anyway, because the first requirement is that you have to do these evaluations of risk, which RBI till date has not done any concrete evaluation. Like every report of theirs you see, they're just citing like a BIS report, they're citing like an IDRB report. They've not done any study of risk, right? And that's the first violation. The second thing is, if you are banning, then you better be able to make your ecosystem comply with the ban. For that, you need monitoring systems in place. RBI doesn't have that, So whether it's the FATF or the US Fed or US Treasury, even they are concerned about the ban, because how are you going to ensure compliance? And that's the question that they will be asked repeatedly. So I don't think that they have the option to just twiddle their thumbs, because there will be money flows through this ecosystem, which they will have to track. If there are peer-to-peer solutions, they still have to track that.
Yeah, so what would be the strategy of the businesses? You already outside, Sandeep. Okay, your entity is outside and the thematic is outside. In fact, all your entities are outside as such. So, what would be your strategy if it stays status quo right now?
So for us at Matic, the strategy is very, very clear, and we are ferocious with that strategy. And is that we are going to bring a lot of applications, be it governments, be it enterprises, be it startups, on blockchain, where blockchain is actually delivering value to those applications. And once this becomes big enough, automatically governments are pressurized more to not take an adversarial stance and understand what is happening over here. So for us, it's very simple. Like, if we are able to create overall value in terms of startups and these enterprises and these products built on Matic, which is valued, let's say $500 million in next 4 years, 3, 4 years, 5 years, or maybe $1 billion, like worth of these startups and products and all, all these things, government will not do an advice.
So it's complete proliferation of blockchain everywhere is what you believe.
Everywhere. That's our simple and single goal.
Satvik, Nishchal.
I just started calculating how many tweets I'll have to do for 5 years. There's about 2,000.
So yeah, 5 years was the biggest time. We understand that.
I really hope it does not take 5 years, but I think
I'll join you again.
but I think we'll just continue to do what we're doing. Honestly, I'm for regulations, because it's not just about one, regulations will bring in a lot more people into the ecosystem. I think the second most important thing is it'll also help prevent any further scams and stuff happening in the country, because regulations ensure that businesses stick to some guidelines, stick to some, I would say, uh, uh, ethics and standards. I think that's very important. Otherwise, it's very hard to grow the ecosystem in the right way, because see, we cannot police around, we cannot stop others. We can only do and mind our own work, right? So I think regulations are definitely important, and I, like Tanvi said, I don't think it's going to take that long, because the country just cannot stay away from this. Policies have to be made.
Yeah, so maybe 5 years was a wrong number to use.
No, it's a good.
1 year, 2 years,
It's a good.
or 6 months.
Yeah, we can think about it. If you
Yeah,
think about
you never
it,
know.
all depends how soon the bull run will happen.
Yeah, we're waiting for the halving to happen. I believe some amount of bull run will start happening then. The halving is just around the corner. Satvik, last comment.
Yeah, see, now that the case with the industry and RBI is already going on, it has gathered a lot of attention of people, right? And now what is really stopping people to bother about it is just because like it's a case exists, right? And let's say if that gets I mean that just disappears for whatever reason, or if it happens to be in the industry favor, I think it is like having a controversy and then the producer launching the movie, right? So it'll have its own extra benefits. But on the other side, if you see, as of now, there is a fear among people to do anything in the crypto space, because they have actually hurted the sentiments of people. Oh my God, there can be like 10 years jail term. It's different papers talking about different things. So that definitely will make the next say 1 or 2 years adoptions little slower, maybe even after this particular thing is gone. But it'll just be forgotten,
Yeah,
and then it'll start getting on its track. Uh, and if I am talking about the regulation, I mean, if we see in the past, it is not so easy to get regulation in India, right? See, for even peer-to-peer loans, I think there was struggle of more than 5 years for them to get it. And what we are talking about is affects like various industries, economic aspects, monetary policies. See, the number of things that can get affected with this is humongous if it really works. So which means I think 5 years is already optimistic to say some kind of regulation will come. Yeah.
So yeah, of course. Again, I take the number back. All right. So yeah, my final question, of course, is assuming that RBI versus crypto thingy happens and we win the case and stuff, and suddenly the government says we will have regulation on crypto. All right. So what will be our strategy then? Because there's going to be a cost implication on putting the strategy put in place and all the stuff. So what would be a strategy? What are the crucial steps you need to take? All right, apart from going to the temple, ringing the bell, and offering sweets to other people. All right, because we'll finally have crypto in the country. What should be a few crucial steps you will need to take to ensure that regulatory things are put in place?
Yeah, I think the first thing all of the companies in India should do after this RBI thing is over and we win the industry wins the case, is all of us should go and raise some funds. Okay, so it's kind of everyone is more or less dried up. Some exchanges got lucky with acquisitions, and some left the country, and they got funding elsewhere, and some pivoted to blockchain. And the people who try to see, I mean, this should work here. I don't know why this doesn't work. It has to be truth one or the other day. That is a kind of stance, at least like 3-4 exchanges that continue to exist today. And once the funds is in place, I think we should think about strategy. It's again like after interval, the movie continues.
Yeah, I think Nishchal made a very important point that once the regulation comes in, or even before the regulation comes, the people or the entrepreneurs in the space who are leading the space, like who are at the forefront, we need to be very, very compliant with if the regulation comes. Plus, we need to follow all the highest ethical standards and all the regulatory standards, everything, so that we don't create a bad name for the whole space. Because there are already very few people. If any one of us does anything which is fishy, it's going to create a bad name for everyone. So that would be the mode for us. Compliant is the main.
Yeah, I think if we win the case, I think it's a double-edged sword because one, we will all, like Satvik said, we'll be able to invest a lot more in the country. We'll be able to grow the ecosystem faster. But the other is, I think that will set the pace for regulators to then really get into this, because then it can lead to massive adoption and massive growth of the market and a lot more money coming in. So I think that will get the regulators to like go in faster into regulations, or at least discussions with the industry, than what it is right now, because right now it's like the status quo is fine. But if banking opens up, that can be madness. And if that happens, I think the regulators will swoop in faster. And I don't know, we should probably be ready for that as well.
Can you pass that? This mic is not really good. Hi, you are. Please.
So I'll just be a bit cautionary, because how the policy process works is if you win the case, you don't have regulation. You just have the Supreme Court saying that the government needs to do more about it, right? And until you convince the policymaker, until the government starts seeing the value in crypto,